Don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Nectar. Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So last year at some point during lockdown, when we couldn't go out and couldn't buy anything and couldn't visit the shops and all that kind of stuff, I did some online shopping and I purchased this. A book by Barbara Mathieson. It's Altered Book Collage. And I'd kind of flipped through it at the time, didn't really have a proper read through. And I was doing that this weekend. And I came across this little project. It says Antique Memories. And it's a kind of rusted faux rusted metal cover to a journal. Vintage themed collage pages that include lacy trims and sepia toned photographs that are encased with a cover that also has an aged look. Carries on, but not going to bother with the lacy trim. Not really going to put any sepia toned photographs in there just yet. What I want to do though is just have a look at this front cover and see whether or not I can actually recreate it using what I've got rather than the ingredients that she's got listed in the book, because there are things in here that I don't have, but there are things that I have that possibly weren't available to her when the book was done. When was the actual book written? Let's have a look, see if there's a date. 2005. So it's quite possible that the products that I'm going to use weren't even available on the market at that time. So she's used ones that were available to her. So that's what we're going to do. So let's turn over to my overhead camera and I'll show you what I've got, what I've done so far, because I have done a little bit, just a teeny bit of prep work in readiness to do this project. So let me turn over to my overhead camera and I'll show you what I've done so far. Okay, welcome to the flip side. So what I've got here are some die cuts. So these are all die cuts that I've cut from packaging from Mr. Bentley Food. As you can see, there's a kind of doggy face hiding in that cog or that gear. So I've cut a couple of different sets. So we've got weathered clock, which is this one here. Now mine is starting to get extremely blunt because it's that old. So, excuse me, I'll just take my phone off because there's texts coming through. We don't want that, do we? Right, so mine's starting to get a little bit blunt now because I've had this for quite some time. So that's the weathered clock one. I did have some hands for this clock that I'd also cut out because it kind of comes with the set. I think I may have accidentally put them in the bin. It's not a problem. I wasn't really planning on using the hands, but there you go. The next set, which are these ones here, are from the Hardware Findings die. So that's just from there. There's also an escutcheon and a key on this one, but not using those. He says, may end up doing them again. I don't know. Haven't decided. But that's from the Hardware Findings set. Or die, and the last one are these ones here, which are from the Gadget Gears, and I haven't poked these out yet. I just haven't had time to do that. Now the best thing to do with these dies is once you've done them, if you've got any pieces that are sticking in there, you really do need to get in there and get them out before you put your dies away. Now the reason for that is because they're foam based. So they've got foam here, and if you leave them in, it kind of compresses the foam, and you end up with a die that's kind of dangerous because the blades are sticking out and the foam is there. Because can you see where the blades are? See, that foam inside there is supposed to be flush like it is here. So in a while that will then raise up and go back again. So it prolongs the life of your die if you remember to remove all of those bits before you put your dye away. So, but that's a job obviously that I need to do fairly soon, and I've just flung bits of this cardboard into my coffee. It all needs to come out. Now I've done multiple layers. Oop, there we go. So these will lift and raise and go flush again after a short period. It doesn't take long for it to happen, but you must remember to clean them all out. There you go. Because, you know, these things are like rocking horse dust or rocking horse doodah. Very difficult to get hold of. Okay, so that's what you do with that. Oh, there are the hands. Haha, just found them. Didn't throw them away after all. There they are. Ta-da-da-da, and I've got a couple more cogs. Yeah. Excellent stuff. Right, so weathered clock, hardware findings, and gadget gears. So those are the 3 sets. So that's what I'm going to be using for the front cover. Now, talking of the front cover, he says, let's just move those to one side and bring that in. So I have gutted a hardback book. So this is a book that's been in my possession since new. I did have the full set of the David and Lee Eddings books at one point, all in hardback. These got me through some troubled times in my past, dim and distant past, but this one was particularly looking a bit sorry and had got damaged, so I decided to sacrifice it. I can always replace it, it's not a problem. So that's what I've done. So I've gutted this one. The white inners on there were sticking up a little bit, so I've gone through and I've just glued them down just using some Elmer's glue, and that's why they're a bit shiny on the inside, because I've stuck those down so that they're flat. So that's the surface that I'm going to be working on to stick all these bits and pieces down on. Because of the way that they've been cut, they are kind of rounded onto that side. I should have kind of turned it over and done it the other way, but hey ho. But it doesn't matter because we're painting over everything. So the next job to do is to start auditioning these pieces and deciding where they're all going to go. So obviously I'm going to be placing those hinges at the top left, sorry, in each of those 4 corners that way, because that's where they're going to look the best and most effective, like so. My tummy's rumbling. Can't be lunchtime already. It's too early for that, I think. It is, it's only 10:10 in the morning. That's not good. Right, so I'll put those there, and then I think the clock, what I might do is I might cut this in half so that it's coming in half from that side and half from that side, or I might do it so it's coming in half that side and half that side. I think that's probably going to be the way to go. So get some scissors and find 12 o'clock, that's 12 o'clock there, and then that's 6 o'clock there, so we will just cut straight up the middle, I think. Or should we just twist it a little bit and do it between the numbers? Yeah, let's do it between the numbers. There we go. That'll do. And then we can put that on either side. Okay, so now we need to bring in some of those cogs. So I'm going to try and mirror the front and the back so that they pretty much look the same. Tuck those in, tuck that in there. And then let's get some smaller ones. And then we can drop that one in there, that one in there, then we've got 2 smaller ones here, think we can drop that one there, that one there, and then I've got these ones. So I think what I'm going to do, they're not going to fit, I don't think, so I'm going to cut those right through the middle. And then I shall do that on the spine. Maybe move it up, maybe move it all down a little bit, like so. And once I'm pretty much kind of happy with the position, I'll need another one of those. I'll need another one of those. Right, so, or do I? Because I've got some metal findings. Let's just play it by ear and see what's going to happen. Right, so what I need to do now is I need to glue all these pieces down onto the cover. So that's what I'm going to do now. So just use it, I could do with some precision, like a precision point glue pen, couldn't I? Or should do. Alright, maybe this isn't too bad. So I'll get a couple of pieces down. So let's stick that one there. And I'm not too worried about any overspill from the glue, mainly because we are going to be painting the whole thing with that kind of rust effect. So don't worry too much, because any glue that you kind of overspill will get covered up. So fret not, dear viewer. Okay, and I'm just going to do it by eye. I'm not going to be measuring exactly, making sure that they're all perfectly placed, similar sort of heights, that kind of thing. As long as it looks the part, then that's fine. Okay, so this is going to be probably one of those long and kind of boring processes where I've got lots of different elements, but I'm doing the same thing to each one. So to spare your boredom, because I know how busy you peeps are, what I'll do is I will just pop some music on, and then we can whiz all the way through until we've got all the pieces stuck down, and then I will join with you once we've got them down. How does that sound? Yeah, thought so. Okay, catch you in a little while. Okay, so that's all of the pieces now stuck down. There's still just a tiny bit of wiggle room, and of course some of them are trying just to lift a little bit, so what we need to do is just to incorporate a bit of weight just to kind of hold things down. So I've got a few heavy jars of bits and pieces that I'm going to, this is knocking the light and the camera, turn that over just to kind of hold things down long enough for them to grab. So you noticed I placed a book plate on the spine because I did want to add one of those as well, so making sure that I've left enough space, plus I've got enough space at the top and the bottom to do what I want to do with the bindings. So I'm going to leave that now to dry for a good hour, and then we'll come back to it and see where we are. Right, it's been about an hour since I left this to dry with the weights on it. I also ended up turning it over and putting a big weighty book on top of it as well, just to flatten everything down and just make sure everything stayed in place. So the next thing that we're going to do, or I'm going to do, is paint the whole thing in black gesso. So the black gesso I'm using is Gesso Good in black from my friends at Indigo Blue. And I've given it a good shake because I haven't used this for a couple of weeks, just in case. And then there we go. So just give everything just first quick coat with that black gesso. This won't be the final coat because I'm using the paint over the top of this cardboard, which has got a little bit of a laminate on it. So this will just give everything that first kind of key coat. So we're literally adding some tooth to the dog cardboard. And it should dry pretty quick as well. So again, I started doing this, so I shall whiz through to the end and then I'll join with you when it's all got the first coat on. Okay, so that is the last bit of that first coat. So you can still see where there's some shiny bits where it's still a little bit wet, but I think we've pretty much got everywhere. So I'm now going to just pop my brush into some water. We'll let that dry and then I'll come right back for the next step. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes or so, and as you can see, I've got the first coat nice and dry, so I'm just going to repeat the same process again, this time with a second coat. And that should then unify everything to the point where we're okay to start adding our steampunky kind of texture to it. So once again, I'll whiz through this because it's exactly the same process, just adding on that black gesso, and then I'll join with you again at the end. Okay, so second coat is now completely dry. Well, I say completely dry. There are a few small pockets where it's still a little bit shiny, but that could be the glue showing through. So what I want to do now is just tackle the edges. So just these edges of the pages themselves. I'm going to bring the gesso in and I'm just going to go around those edges there just to kind of tone everything in together. And I've got a smaller brush that I'm going to use just to catch those edges with that black gesso. It doesn't matter whether it comes into here because I'm going to be recovering those with some lining paper anyway. So that's the next job then. So just to go around, just catching those edges with the black gesso just to kind of uniform all the edges together. Quick job. Not really a fiddly one, but just one of those ones that you really do need to do, or I think I need to do anyway, just to kind of make sure that we catch as much of it and get rid of as much of that blue as we need to, just to blend the project together. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all of the edges all caught now with that black gesso, and that hides. Oh, I've missed a bit. There you go, you see. Not just a little bit either, that was a lot. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and then I can inspect it for any other places where I may have missed or where it may need that second coat. Okay, so everything is now pretty much dry to the point where I'm okay with the coverage of the black gesso. So but what I want to do is just introduce a few more accents. Now I've got here some foam pads, and I'm just going to introduce some of those onto the cover, just as like faux rivets, if you like. And because these are self-adhesive, obviously they will hold and they will stick. But once they're painted, obviously they'll lose their adhesiveness on top, which is fine, because they'll also create a kind of soft cushion, if you like, for when you've got your book open. So these are, I can remember what they're called, they're Sticky Thumb from American Crafts, adhesive foam dots from Hobby Lobby, and you may wonder what I'm doing with them. Seeing as Hobby Lobby is an American company, well, last time we visited I stocked up, brought lots of craft stuff home with me. I know. So we're just adding in a little bit of extra detail. Now I could use like half pearls and put those on as well, but use what you've got to create texture and dimension. You don't have to stick to the same thing all the time. And like I've said many times before, you know, most of us like to use up our supplies. If you've got some supplies that you've had kicking around for ages, you know, there's nothing wrong with finding a new use for them. Something different, something unexpected. I think sometimes that's half the fun, is trying to find new and different uses for your supplies, so that when you show what you've created to other people, you can go, you know, they'll say, oh, what have you done to get that effect? And sometimes it's fun to say, well, actually, I don't know what you think. Or even try and guess. Okay, so I've kind of tried to mirror where everything is. So now what I need to do is just to quickly go around and remove all the tops. Of course, if you want to remove all the stickiness before you even start, then there's a real quick and easy way of doing it. Just get some talcum powder and just dab some talcum powder on top of the foam pad. That will get rid of any of the stickiness. Like I said, the paint will remove it anyway. And of course it's easy to work out which ones you haven't done. I think there's just these two that are left now over in this corner. There we go. Can we add any more? Do we need to? No, I don't think so. Right, so like I said, there's two choices. You can either just paint over those with what coat you're going to use next, or you can add your black gesso over the top. I think I'm just going to quickly go over again with that black gesso, only because I've got it to hand. So here we go. It shouldn't take too long. Okay, so let's have a look at those quick 4 rivets. All unified. They're still a little bit wet at that side. There we go. Missed a bit. but that's okay. We can pick that up later. Right, okay, so when we do our, they're not sticky either anymore because they've got that paint on top. Right, so we're going to start adding our rust effect. So once again, I'm going to use the Viva Decor Rusty. And I've added a little bit of water to it, distilled water. Because water from the tap, you don't know what kind of impurities you've got in there, but once again, so this is going to take quite a while just to go around and add all this texture paste. And again, it's going to be a case of doing it and then coming back and adding in as many coats as you feel comfortable or think it needs or warrants. But don't forget, it's not supposed to be an even coat. And also, this won't be the last coat, he says. So once we've added 2 or 3 coats of this, we will be adding some more. Okay, so I'll get off, go into fast forward, and I'll see you in a little while. Okay, so just getting to the end of the first coat of the rust. So it's taken me roughly about 35 to 40 minutes to do that. But you can already see it's already started to dry at this side, because I started at that side and worked across to this, where the darker areas are, where I need to build up a little bit more of that colour and texture. But as you can see, it's already started to look the part, because it's all mottled and not all one uniform colour. It kind of gives you that that effect. So what I need to do is to leave this to dry completely and then come back in to add that second coat wherever I need to, either with a brush, or maybe I might even do a little bit of spouncing with a distress foam, one of those round ones. I also need to wash my hands because I'm covered in gesso. And I think it's also lunchtime. Yes, it is. It's 12:15 now. So what time did I start this? 10 to 10? 10 to 11? Can't remember. Anyway, it's 12:15. So time for a quick break for me. Comfort break, cup of tea, something to eat, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've had my lunch and this has dried. But before I did go downstairs, I just painted the inside. So all I've done is just gone round at the inside cover, just kind of matching it to the outer colour and all I used was the Dina Wakley cheddar. If you haven't got a colour, just mix up different oranges with a little bit of brown and you'll get something approximate to what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be a perfect exact match. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I've put some of the rust paste into the lid, and I've taken one of those Tim Holtz round ink blending foams. I've painted on using a brush, so now I'm just going to go back over the top and I'm just going to spounce up and down just around, just to give it that second kind of coat where there's a lot of the black showing through from the gesso still. I'm just going to go over just to add another coat, just surface, just taking a little bit of that away. I'll just go around over everything, bouncing, and then where necessary, if I've got a line from the ink blending foam, I can just gently just drag it and blend it all in. So I shall carry on just whizzing round with this, and then when I'm done and dried, I'll come back and we can start adding a little bit more detail colour to the rest of the cover. Okay, so that second coat is dry, gone a little bit darker, which is fine. Right, so next what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in some spritz sprays of my own making. So this, again, if you saw me create the storage unit, I'm just going to use the same ink sprays that I created for those, and I'm just going to go around and just spritz some of that colour Okay, so that is the brown colour. I'm just going to let it sit and pool. Just give it a quick once over. You see where it's gathering in those areas there and picking out a little bit of the detail and making it a little bit darker. I think I nearly sprayed my trousers, but hey ho, won't be the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last. So just quickly whip over, but before it dries I also want to bring out some other colours as well. So I've got an orange one here. So again, we'll let that sit and let that pool for a second. And then I'm going to introduce a third colour. So this one is yellow ochre. There's a few kind of like greeny colours in there, which is just perfect. Okay, so again, just let that sit for a minute, let it permeate, and then we'll dry it off. Okay, so while I was waiting for that cover to dry, I thought I'd move on to the next step, which is to add that book plate on the spine just here. So I've also just covered that with the rust paste as well, just so that it blends in a little bit. So I've got a couple of brads which I haven't covered just yet, but I'll add a little bit of colour to that later on. So I've placed a pricking mat underneath the spine of the journal. I've got my pokey tool, And all I'm doing is just lining up the spine or the plate where I want it to go, and then I can just go through and create some holes in the spine big enough, hopefully, for those brads to go through. These might be a little bit too big, but I'd rather have them bigger than too small. No pun intended. There we go, so that's the first one. And then the second one. There, and I can just flip that over and then just twist those round. That's it. And then just using the poker tool, just separate the arms of the brad a little bit. That's it. And then I can just make sure I push up from the other side to make sure I get the right kind of tension. And it's not too loose, and it's not going to wobble on the cover. There we go. How's that? Yeah, I'm happy with that. And they're pretty much similar, but I could always just add a little bit of that rust paste just over the top of those as well. And they're kind of almost the same size as those rivets. So that's that job done. Okay, so I think we're pretty much almost there now. I know there's a lot of steps in this, but you know, it'll be worth it in the end, I hope. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to add a little bit of sparkle just to the front of this project. So I could either dry brush using paint, or I can use a mica spray. Now, hot off the press, just arrived in the post this morning, is a new set of mica ink sprays from Indigo Blue. So these are called Vivids. This is one of, there are 10 colours in the mica set. There's 2 sets of 5. This is from, I think this is from, well, it's either from set 1 or set 2. Anyway, as you can see, look at that colour that's in there. And these are airless tubes. Sorry, not airless tubes. Well, they are. Oh dear. Let's start that one again, shall we? These tubes are vacuum. There's no thin tube like you normally get in a bottle, like that one. Can you see the tube in there? They don't have one. They operate on like a vacuum system. So this is one of the new colours from Indigo Blue. So these are fabulous bottles. So I'm just going to take a little bit of kitchen roll just to get this going, because I've not used this one yet because it's brand new. Like I said, just arrived in the post this morning along with the other colours. Now if you want to see the full range, you'll have to wait till Thursday, because I'll preview them all in the vlog. But I just wanted to use this one now, so there you go. Can you see that sparkle in there? Oh, okay, so hopefully you see it. It's just, oh, that shimmer. Look at that. Okay, you can actually see it kind of like in the background. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Okay, put that to one side, and let's see what it's going to look like when it's all nice and dry. Okay, so they're all dry. And I don't really think I need to say, look at the shine. Absolutely fabulous. So we've got a nice bit of shine on that, which is just going to finish it off rather lovely. So the inside now, so what I've done is from the Steampunkery set, I printed out 2 sheets. I enlarged it up to A4, which is our printer printer paper size, and then trimmed it down to fit so that it goes half and half across the spine there, and then the second piece will go like that and should theoretically line up bang smack in the middle. Ta-da! And of course that's where your paper is going to go for your journal. So what I'm going to do is I've already attached some double-sided adhesive to the back of these pieces, and I will need a little bone folder. Now I've got a sneaking suspicion that once I actually start feeding this in, it's going to maybe not quite meet up as well as I thought it was going to do. So, oh, I also needed to distress the edges first, didn't I? Oh dear, I'm forgetting steps now, look. Right, just to get rid of. Right, well I'll just quickly whip off and distress the edges of these. Oh, I can't believe I forgot to do that. Well, it's a good job I remembered before I stuck it down, isn't it? Otherwise, I really would have been in a pickle. I'd have had to try and done it while it was actually still attached to the journal, and that wouldn't have been any good. So, hey ho. Right. Okay, so that's one side. I might as well do both while I've got these out, hadn't I? There you go. Strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. I think I need a new foam. This one's falling to pieces. Okay. Yep. Alright, okay, I think we've got all those. All this for a blooming book cover. Alright. Let's start with that left one. Okay, so down on the floor. I'm going to try and line it up with the existing interior papers. So I'm hoping that they will line up almost exact. Alright, I'm not going to push down, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the second one and I'm going to try and put that in at the same time and see whether or not we're actually going to be able to get it to line up. Just slightly off, I think. That, I think, is going to be nearest damn it, if you'll pardon the language. Okay, so, and now I'll just give that a push and then turn it round and then do the same thing at this side. And that, hopefully, yeah, there's just a little bit of a gap. There we go. And I've stuck it in upside down, the wrong way around. Oh dear me. What an idiot. What an idiot. Never mind. Okay. That. Yeah, that one was supposed to go. Yeah. Oh. No. That's in the right place. That's wrong. It should have been the other way around. But never mind. It still looks okay. Okay, so next up then, I need to add some strings for the journal. So, because it's going to be a traveller's kind of notebook type thing. So I'll go and grab my crocodile and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so as I've said before, the best laid plans of mice and men doesn't always work, does it? So I'll put that in the middle there, and then turn that around and put that in the middle there. I'm hoping I've used the right size. And then we need a couple of highlights. All my extra wide ones have disappeared, he says, knowing full well where they've gone, Ian. And then we'll just crimp those together. Okay, and then now we've got that, we need to get some elastic. I'm developing a huge pile of stuff down here on the side of my desk. Right, elastic. Just a little. Alright, so I don't want a real tight journal. I want a fairly loose one. So it wants to go through like that. I've got to make sure I do this the right way around. I probably haven't got it the right way around. So to the middle. Put it the wrong way around. Right, anyway, so I'll need about 2 and a bit lengths. So call it that. There we go, that should do us. And then I can trim the elastic. So I'll thread it from the inside to the outside. And then pull it a little bit tight. Not hugely. And then, yeah, I knew it was going to give a little bit there. And then just pull that tight. That should theoretically be tight enough so you don't see it from the spine then, but you can add your papers into your journal from there once you've got them. So let me just trim those off. Get off like that, like that, and then I'm just going to need to apply a little bit of heat to those just to stop it from fraying. Back in a sec. Okay, so I'm back. Stop it from fraying. It's warm, it's been on the windowsill, which is why it's throwing out a lot of flame. That's it, that should do us. So there we go. There's our repurposed, altered steampunk traveller's notebook, ready to accept some journal pages. So that will be the end of part 1. Part 2 will be on Saturday. Just look at that shine. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create that Traveller's Notebook style steampunk journal. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. Like I said, I'll see you all again on Saturday for part 2. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.